Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Gentlemen, shout out to the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Hurricane Edwin Allen Anderson. I'm not going to even go through the whole church name this time, but shout out to him. He covered how SWP is going to have to level up his particular game in one respect. Although we're not really calling it game because he's not really trying to get with six, but what he's doing is he's pointing to her as an example of good looks. And I get it. Believe me, I get it. But by the same token, I see why it is that the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Doctor Hurricane Edward Allen Anderson of the New Greater Zion Valley, Precious Lamb, O Lord, hold my mule while I shout, Golden Monument, Mountain of Hope, Faith Tabernacle. If we don't take no crap, no misandry, and no pimping off of these O's Incorporated, said what he said. I understand why. He made a point that you can't sit up here and acknowledge really even the beauty of some of these broads if you want to keep their respect, because they're just not going to respect you once you do that. And it might not even be something that they're capable of doing. It may just be that they simply cannot acknowledge your respect, or they cannot respect you because you acknowledged their beauty. And he said, look, one of the issues that we're facing for the most part is the fact that these ladies feel like they don't really need to do anything else. And they haven't had to do anything else. And they've just had compliments based on their looks, and they've been off the hook for just about anything else, really. And so that's it. Their looks are intact and their looks are validated. And then there's nothing else that they got to do. And so I point out how I try to tell guys sometimes how it is that if you validate how they look, all they're going to do is decide, okay, well, I'm the celebrity and they're the fan. That does become problematic. And then before you know it, they really can't value anything else about you. So now they can't value you. Now you're no good. Now at this point, you're worthless to them. And that's where the issue comes in. Now at this point, you mean nothing to them, and no other guy's going to be able to mean much to them. So they don't want a guy that can't see their beauty, but then they're also not going to respect the guy who can. And so you're just SOL. Any guy is. And that means that woman is in SOL. So when SWP wants to say, well, you should acknowledge that she looks good, her beauty, what that means is that he's not getting past the point of the validation. See, really, sisters need to deny validation. We validate them, they walk over us. Other men don't validate them, they chase these men. Now stop and think about this for a second. We don't typically validate white women for their looks, it's for the way they behave. You think about it. We don't sit up and say they just look better than sisters do right off the bat. We don't validate them just for that. We validate them for how they treat us. Now, white guys validate them for how they look. What winds up happening? Who do they disrespect more right out the gate, starting off, right off the gate? Becky starts off disrespecting Brad more. Now, does she get around to doing that to us? Yeah, it takes a while. And even then, there's a level of disrespect they show their men they don't show us. It's crazy, but it's actually like that. But there's a level of disrespect they show their men, and we probably won't see that. I mean, they don't sit up and tell us, well, you don't deserve to get any ever in your life. You know, who sits up and tells brothers that we don't deserve coochie? It's sisters that do that. Becky doesn't say that to us. They don't do that. So what does that tell you then? You validate them just for how they look, and you don't hold them to a standard of behavior, and you will not get it. It's sort of like when I teach my students. It's funny that I became much better at marrying who I'd like when I was a teacher. It's crazy how that worked. When my students, if I'm willing to take their excuses, I get excuses. If that's all I'll get. Once they realize that I will accept excuses from them, I'll never get anything other than excuses. Excuses will be the only thing I'll ever see from them. Just excuses and then more excuses. It won't stop. Everything that I'm going to get from them in life is going to boil down to simply excuses. It's always going to be, well, look, you should understand that I had this and I had that. My students have their final tomorrow, the difficult parts of their final, the writing and the speaking. And one thing they now know, they may not like it, but one thing they do understand is that if they come in talking that broken English, they come in with that mess, all they're going to get are the results they don't want. They will not get the results that they do want. That's not happening. They're only going to get results they don't want and nothing else. Just those results. No other results are on the table for them. And what is it that they don't want? Well, there's a grade that they don't want. It's a failing grade, and they will get nothing other than that failing grade if they come to me with excuses. And these excuses could be valid, and I'll still hold them. I'll keep them back because of these excuses. It's not hatred. It ain't got nothing to do with hatred. I don't hate them, but they're going to lose certain things because of these excuses that they make. It's always excuses with them. Everything with them is an excuse. They always have a reason that they can't do what they're supposed to do. It's always that. You can tell them a million times. You can tell them until they're blue in the face. Hey, listen, this is what you've got to do if you want to get these particular results. But doctor, I somebody hit me on the way here. They hit you on final exam day. So you've never had a car accident until the day that you're coming in for your final exam. Nobody ever hit you any other day, but you come in for final exam, and now all of a sudden you've been hit. And I'm supposed to believe that. No, bro. As a matter of fact, the reason that the reason I didn't make a big deal out of what some of my students showed up late is simply because one thing I knew that was going to happen to them is that they weren't necessarily going to get what they were looking for. And what are they looking for? They were looking for a way to get some of these answers easy. That wasn't going to happen though. So when they came in and they pretty much showed up a little bit late. They were probably trying to get some answers from a friend of theirs before they even got to the point of showing up, coming before they got to the exam room. I think that's what they were looking for. But we weren't giving the test codes out for them to even try until that point. And then they got the questions and answers randomized. And it's going to be like that moving forward. So they're going to be marked. and they're going to have to use correct English tomorrow. They're going to have to write and speak it, and that's where their grades really count. And you guys, see, sisters have looked and they've said, well, okay, we can see what it is that we can get out of you. And since we can get this out of you with excuses, we're just going to continue with the excuses. And you can hang up this notion of ever getting anything more than that out of us because we don't have a reason to provide you with more than an excuse. We're going to come with you with trauma. We're going to come to you with the money that you didn't make that somebody else did, and all that these other men have that you don't have. That's what we're going to come to you with. All that. The race war you didn't win, and shout out to BGS for talking about that too. No, this was no race war. There was no war involved in any of this. All it was they came and they kidnapped, and they sent people really to do the kidnapping. And sometimes people who are already in bondage were the ones that were sold off. And they're not going to change anything about this. I mean, if you decided to start a race war, they still would not decide, okay, look, you're free now. It's not something they're capable of making. That's not a decision they're capable of making. I'm not saying that they're not capable of making decisions. I'm saying that they cannot bring themselves to decide, listen, we're going to treat black folks fairly from here on out. We are not going to do anything to harm them. They can't bring themselves to that point. We're not going to take nothing from them they wouldn't take, that we wouldn't give to them. We're not going to treat them in ways we wouldn't tolerate from them. They don't think that way. Their thinking is, damn it, we know that what we did was wrong, but we're going to do it again. And even if our generation doesn't have the stomach to do that same stuff, we're going to make sure that we don't pay anything to the survivors today's generation because we got the benefits and we're not going to give them up. And then they're going to look at even what they call the PWT, the poor white trash, and they're going to say, well, if they weren't able to benefit from this, then that's on them. Hell, we would have hired them as overseers. They could have gotten something out of this. You mean they didn't get anything? I mean, they could have become overseers back then and prison guards today, but they didn't want anything. Did you all know that at Angola, people don't realize this, but at Angola's prison, not Angola's jail, but the Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana, the guards are also the sons and grandsons of guards. That part in that movie Monsters Ball was correct. That wasn't just fiction for entertainment. No, that was real. The offspring of the guards are the ones who fill out the job applications to become guards, and nobody else is even trying to become guards. I mean, people may want to join the Louisiana Department of Corrections. They might want to do that, but what they're not doing is trying to go to Angola. That's what people don't realize. They don't want to go into Angola. So Angola does not get applicants. I mean, the Department of Corrections does, but to go to Angola, they're the only ones because they saw their moms and dads working there, or mostly their dads. They're the only ones that are sitting up and saying, hey, you know what? I'll take that job. Nobody else wants it. They know how to be guards at America's worst penitentiary there is. They know how to do that. Nobody else does. So what they do is they join it. So they can't they can't change because they can't bring themselves to change what they have to change. But what I want you to know, and I want you to understand, my people, gentlemen, is this. You guys are dealing with somebody that's the same way when it comes to desistering. You can say, okay, she looks good. And see, this is what I would tell SWP. You can sit up and say, okay, well, Six the Goddess looks good to me. Y'all can't act like she's bad looking, even if she's not your type. That's what you got to point out. But here's the thing, though. You also got to say, but her attitude is ucked up. And this is what I want guys like SWP to understand. When you know, see, if you're a guy that looks at a woman and you know her attitude is jacked up and that makes her look bad to you, that means you're smart. It means you got a psychological mechanism in your mind that protects you from bad women if you know they're bad. It protects you from the charms of bad women. Because why do bad women behave the way they do? Because they can. You got a situation now so bad that chicks that are ugly are behaving badly and bragging about it. Why are they doing it? Because the chicks that behave better than them are all going to behave even worse. The chicks that look better than them will behave even worse. That's why everybody acts the way they do. Okay, now we know what that is. Got it. We're just going to have to accept the fact. Sadly, but it's still true. We're just going to have to accept the fact that, frankly, these sistren are not going to change the way they behave because they never had to. And one of the reasons, and this is where Manosphere Hall of Fame is going to agree with me, but it's because we're simply too easy. So you tell these Westernishas you look good, and what they see is that's a license to act a goddamn bitch. Doesn't make a difference to me. There are other reasons I wouldn't go back to America if the women changed their behaviors. Not to live, at least. It doesn't make a difference. But to you, a lot of you, though I want all of you who can leave to leave and those who can to help others leave too, the fact is many of you are still going to be there in the States for the long haul. And I don't want you guys stuck with nothing but bad options. And I don't want the younger guys, your sons and your younger brothers that you can't get out of there stuck with bad options. I don't want that. Not for you and not for them. Well, you're going to be stuck with them as long as you got guys sitting up saying, you got to acknowledge her beauty. No. You got to acknowledge whatever is good about her. Beauty is subjective, but behavior, boy, you can see that. And 6, because of her looks and the validation she got from her looks, she will never know how the hell to act. She'll never know. She's just mean and nasty. She ain't the only one. And I tell you now, Danica Marie is somebody good to listen to, but not to watch. Play the sound of her while you're doing some other stuff. Ain't no good to watch it because there's a part of her that wants that attention. It's a part of women. The problem is that's not okay. They can have that attention from their own men, but they still want it from other men. There's something that's in them they have to crush. And my wife has even said that she behaves a certain way because she's Muslim, and she does believe that she's going to be called to account. And she stated that if she wasn't Muslim, she'd still believe that we're going to be called to account because dying and not being judged would defeat the purpose of life. It would defeat the purpose for even a moral compass if that's the case. But she's understood it. And she said that the respectful thing to do is to know that she would like to get attention. She didn't say she'd want all these dudes. It's the attention. And I actually had to tell her that the minute you start to seek attention from a lot of guys, you will get exactly the attention you don't want and not the attention you do. I respected the decision because what she's saying is, well, I'm human. Yeah, I'd like the attention, but I'm going to make the right choice because it's the right choice. And I know it is. So I respect that, but I had to tell her, here's the kicker. If you didn't believe what you believed and you try to get that attention, you'd be psycho. Because you'd get the attention you don't want and not the one you do. Dudes would be trying to dig you out as much as they possibly could in exchange for as little as possible. That's what they would be trying to do. You wouldn't be wife material. And you'll be trying to get as much attention out of them in exchange for as little digging out as possible. And you all would be in a conflict all the time. It would never stop because their interests would be their interests would be opposed to yours. Your interests would be opposed to theirs, and it would just be war. And that's why there's a gender war in the West that we don't live in anymore, fortunately. And hell, it's going to make its way here. And the men have told me it's because well, you know what? Go to Jet Black Air Lounge and find out what the men have said. I got a post on there about 2 independent Saudi observations that they told me a day apart. But you're going to have to subscribe to find that out. But it's going to make its way here too. It absolutely is. It's going to make its way here no matter what I do, no matter what I say. It's going to take a bunch of us to stop this gender war from going to these other places. It's going to take many of us doing that. So anyway, no, don't validate them for their looks. SWP says that. Don't do it. Do not go to Instagram. Don't go to any platform where they take or they post booty pics or anything like that. Don't go to any of that stuff. So don't even look at it. Therefore, you're not going to hit the like button. Don't send any messages. Don't do any of this. Let there be no reward for this behavior of attention seeking ever. If a chick you know and is a friend of yours says something bad about herself and fishes for compliments, don't give them. Instead, say, do you really believe that about yourself? If it's something that's not true that she says about herself, say, do you really believe this about yourself? Question them, put them on a hot seat because they need to grow the up. The ones we love and the ones we hate alike need to grow the up. If you're not going to be stuck with a bunch of bad options, and your sons and your younger brothers are not going to be stuck with a bunch of bad options. Because one of the reasons that you and they are stuck with bad options is because your daughters have not been forced to grow up, but they have other women forcing them to not grow up. What that means is that they are socially forced, or they think they're socially forced, to be nothing but bad options. Is that what we want? Well, you know damn well it's not. So anyway, thanks for listening as always. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with us here on Jet Black Air with a phrase. Jet Black is also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.